Day 34, stairs after 2 hours of basketball. Only 6 more days to go.
And you're actually doing what inspired you. That suck factor is now real. You're now there. And only those people who have been there a million times in their minds and have lived in that water and have suffered a million times and realize my legs may break, my knee may break, my bones will hurt. I will be the coldest I've been in my life. I will be miserable. And accept that. When you get in a horrible situation in life, your mind immediately says, everybody does, even if you want to be there. But it starts to have all these different questions in your mind in that 1 second. And it says, okay, why are you here? Why you do this? Why this? Why that? And then you start to say to yourself, if you don't want to be there that bad, I have a beautiful life. I'm not going to break my body up to do this. Your mind starts to say, yeah, this is stupid. But if you are already knowing that this is going to happen to you, you have all the answers to these questions that your mind starts to give you when you're in suffer mode. Try to be 10% better than you were last week. So if you're running 30 miles a week, run 33. If you're swimming 500 meters, swim 550. The more you walk away from accountability, the weaker you become. Find yourself in the grip of life. You can't find yourself by doing nothing. So there's a lot of pockets of weakness nowadays. And we try to fill those pockets with lies. I did it for many years. So I'm out here in Colorado for a conference. I go to the gym and this trainer calls me over to talk to this group of people he's training. He says, hey man, what are you doing out here? So I tell him. He says, what kind of workouts are you doing? I said, one workout I'm doing, I'm climbing this mountain, 3,000 feet, 3 miles. But I do that every day. So the next day I'm out looking for him. Didn't see him. A couple days later, looking for him. Didn't see him. So here I am on the mountain again, climbing it. And there's a gondola that takes you up, takes you down. I'm going up it. I see a gondola from about 5 minutes to the top. I look up at the gondola. I see him, face pressed up against the window, looking at me, or eyes me. Don't talk about it. Be about it. Practice what you preach. Stay hard. 6. I like suffering in the way that is competitive, that brings out the absolute best in me and in everybody else. I want to see what you're made of. I want to see almost like the Colosseum in Rome. You can't do it by writing a paper. And what I found out, and the only message I want to get across to people is once you change one thing, your mindset, you can attack everything. People know, how do you keep grinding every day? You have to make those insecurities, those fears. Like when I was 300 pounds, I didn't have any drive. I was an insecure, lying kid, afraid. I had to look at my insecurities and in my fear and find drive in that. We're all looking for passion. Passion's all around you. All the energy and fuel you need is right in yourself. It's all there. You got a lot of stuff to do to overcome. And, that's where I found it. I found it right there in my own insecurities. I found drive in my own insecurities. And that's the most powerful thing in the world. When you can find drive in your own doubt, fear, insecurities, you become very unstoppable. I'm in a search for a feeling. I'm not in a search for a trophy. I'm not in a search for love. I'm not in a search for more followers on Instagram or social media. When I started this journey years ago, and I realized that I'm going to be somebody, and I'm searching for a feeling of true victory for myself, and only myself. The second I shut out the whole world and realized that one thing, that I am in this world alone. I'm fighting this race by myself, the weakest person on the planet Earth. My goal in life was to in my mind, believe I'm the hardest man alive. And that's why the whole thing is can't hurt me. That's what it's about. It's about whatever you think you are, you have to make that dream a reality. But that's where the hard part is. There's a lot of successful people in this world who still feel empty inside. And they wonder why they still feel empty. So they try to make another million, 2 million, 3 million. Let's buy a new car, a new house, a new boat. Let's buy more of everything. At the end of the day, you still feel real empty inside. For me, I wasn't even successful. I just felt empty. So I was trying to hide my insecurities. You have to be there but not there at the graduation.
Okay.
You got to be there in the worst
In the
parts
suffering.
that you know over and over again. You got to live that in your mind. Dress me up. Same thing with life. If you don't get inside your soul, inside your heart, and fix it, be willing to go to war with yourself. Stay hard. I was such in a dungeon in my life, and I feel like I was such in a hole with nowhere to go, with so many issues and so many things to climb over and overcome. But the thing about it is, we all have the ability to come from nothing to something. I was 300 pounds, and my goal was to be a Navy SEAL. Impossible goal. But what if I could? You have to be willing to suffer to get to the other side. You know, the other side of suffering is a whole nother world that people have no idea that even exists. From the very beginning, how I became who I am today, I grew up very soft, very insecure. I was beat as a child a lot, not only physically, but also mentally. My dad was an alcoholic, so it transferred to him being very abusive, me growing up, not just to me, but also my mother. And from that, my foundation at an early age was cracked. I had a really cracked foundation growing up. So with a cracked foundation and my mom having a cracked foundation, I had no one to really, show me the ropes, show me the way. And so we went from that kind of cracked foundation to another cracked foundation. I went to a small town in Indiana, in Brazil, Indiana. And there was about 5 black families there. So being called nigger was something that happened regularly. I had a lot of friends, but also, when you have a cracked foundation, the only thing you really see is the negative. You don't see a lot of people that like you. All you see is the people that don't like you. So that cracked foundation just kept on getting more and more cracked. And throughout the years, I developed a stutter, had a lot of issues with people, social anxiety. I copied all through school. I had a learning disability, so I cheated a lot going through school. So my foundation continued to get cracked. And when you get to that point in your life and no one is there to really help you out, you have to figure some things out. So what made me who I am today is basically that cracked foundation and not liking it. So I had to learn how to mend that cracked foundation alone. And what happens is you have to really develop a lot of mental toughness. But to me, mental toughness wasn't enough. I had to really develop a calloused mind. So I had a victim mentality. I was a victim. Everybody messed my life up. My dad, society, my mom, whatever it may be, I was dealt a bad hand. And so it gives you a victim mentality. So I developed a way to get over the victim's mentality. And it was through callousing your mind. So I was literally callousing over the victim's mentality through outworking all my faults. So I developed a work ethic that became known as, what it is now. That's how I got this world toughest man. Because I'm not the best person in the world. I'm not the smartest. I'm not anything. But I learned to outwork everybody around me. And that's how I got to where I'm at today. So I don't live a very glamorous life at all. I live very uncomfortable to a lot of people. It's not that I'm broke. It's not that I don't have the means to do it. It's like a boxer. A boxer may have a $4 million house, but before a big fight, he may go away to the mountains for about 2 months to train. Totally secluded, desolate world, may live on a cot, may live on the ground. What that boxer's doing is he's trying to form his mentality. He's trying to get that mentality to a very animalistic state. So when he goes inside that ring, his mentality is ready to do whatever it takes to win that boxing match. So what I realized from my foundation growing up was I had a very soft mind. And I live that way now, like that boxer training for that big fight. You know, I live that way all the time. So I'm always sharpening my sword. And how I sharpen my sword is I have a mentality of my refrigerator is never full. I've never arrived. And every time I get close to the top of a mountain, I fall back down on purpose. I believe that true growth is at scratch. Starting from scratch is true growth. You have to have friction in your life. There has to be friction in your life for you to be able to move forward. So many people call me the hardest man on the planet. I got to that point from having a never-ending work ethic. So if you want anything in life, a lot of people, we live in a society right now where mediocrity is often rewarded. Like mediocrity is almost a standard. And for me, if you live that way, that's where you could be at. So let's say you have 10 people. You have 10 people and all of them are mediocre. And you beat those 10 people in a race or at work, whatever it may be. You're really still mediocre. What we do in life is we set our standards to everybody else. What we do in life is we look at what someone did before us. We look at a standard. I don't look at anybody's standard. I set my own standard. And how I became this, whatever people call the hardest man on the planet, is I literally set my own standards. I started to reinvent the wheel for myself. I didn't follow the crowd. Whatever the crowd was doing, I didn't follow. I did what I had to do to get where I had to go. And in doing that, that's where true growth is finding yourself. I'm not trying to be like Michael Jordan or be like Tiger Woods or anybody else. I'm trying to be like David Goggins. And through that, you can find out what you're made of. And you are trying to conquer yourself. And that's how I got this title. My advice to people who are going through hard times, a lot of people know my story. I come from a very, very, very humble beginning. You have to be open with that. Like, for instance, social media. A lot of people are on social media, and what they do is they show you the best side of them. Everybody on social media, everybody out here in this world, if you have friends, everybody has two sides to them. We have the side that we want you to see, which is our best side. Our best side. But we also have this side that we're not working on. The side we're not working on is that side that we want no one to see. Like on social media, everybody posts where they're going, you know, I'm going here for vacation. This is me in the gym. This is me here. This is me here. What I do is I post my bad side. I let everybody know I'm this. I have to work on all these things. It's okay. So the first thing is you got to accept the fact that everybody judging you, you judging yourself, it is okay to be up. It's okay to not be exactly like everybody else. It's not, you know, it's okay to not follow the crowd. So that's the one thing I would tell people is don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Worry about what you're doing. Focus on what you're doing, because everybody else out there, everybody judging you, they also have problems themselves. And that's what I realized myself. So I stopped comparing myself to everybody else, and I was comparing myself to me. I'm my own hero. I'm my own hero. I believe that a lot more people can relate to the struggle, a lot more than the success. People relate a lot more to that. You know, I relate a lot more to a person who's the underdog. Most of us in this world are underdogs. There's very few of us out here who are the 1%ers. And those 1%ers are those people who are like the CEOs, these people who are like the best basketball, the best golfer. Very few people are there. It's those people who are at the very bottom in the middle who are trying to get there. It's all about work ethic. So everybody likes the underdog. That's why that whole Rocky story, everybody loves a Rocky story. But the thing about it is, to develop that Rocky story, you got to work your ass off. And not many people are willing to do that part of it. That's the hard part about overcoming the odds. overcoming yourself is you have to create a Rocky story. So why I like the Rocky films so much is when I was growing up, I didn't have much of a role model growing up. So in between my cheating and me ditching school and all these things, I got obsessed with people that I saw my life in their life. And I got obsessed with people who struggled, with people who were at the bottom of the daggone sewer. I got obsessed with watching these people, and I got obsessed with watching Rocky 1, round 14. And the reason why this specific round is, even to this day, I'm 43 years old. To this day, it puts chills in my body, is I can go back to where I was 10, 11, 12 years old, whenever the movie came out. And I remember my first time watching it. And I was watching round 14 of Rocky 1. And I'll never forget watching this guy who was Rocky, getting his butt kicked. Apollo Creed was just knocking him down, beating him up. And all he wanted to do was go the distance. And to a lot of people, this makes no sense to them. But for a kid who's looking for strength, who's looking for, like, is it possible? You're looking for, is it possible? Can I pull off the impossible? And me watching this film, that's what I saw. So it was a no-name boxer against the best boxer in the world, who's Apollo Creed. And I watched this guy in the ring, who's Rocky, just getting his butt kicked, falling down, getting up. In the 14th round, Apollo is like just killing this guy. But also Apollo's tired. He's extremely tired. But Apollo knocks him down in the 14th round for like the 30th time. And even Rocky's coach, Mickey, is telling Rocky to stay down. And Apollo turns around. He turns around, he thinks that he got this guy. He thinks he beat him. He thinks he finally took this guy out. This guy who's kept coming at him and coming at him and coming at him. Apollo Creed turns around, puts his arms in the air. He turns his back to Rocky, just assuming he's down. I got him. Everybody in the crowd saying, stay down. Everybody. This guy is climbing the ropes to get back up. Totally destroyed. Nothing left, but he found something. And this is the thing about it. He found something. And I watched this guy get up, and once he gets up, Apollo Creed turns around and sees this. And the look I saw, most people don't even see this. The look I saw on Apollo Creed's face was this look of total awe of who the hell are you? Who am I fighting? It looked like Apollo Creed's soul left his body. And Rocky got his gloves and motioned him to come on. And Apollo Creed put his head down and shook his head. Why that scene resonates with me so much was I was such in a dungeon in my life, and I felt like I was such in a hole with nowhere to go, with so many issues and so many things to climb over and overcome on my own. I wanted every obstacle and every person that ever doubted me to look like Apollo Creed. I wanted the people, whoever it was, people, obstacles, whatever, to look at me like this guy's going to continue coming after me. I wanted what Rocky had. This ability to keep getting up. I don't care if I win. I don't care if I'm the best. It's not about being the hardest man in the world. I just want to keep coming after you. So through years and years and years of visualizing that scene of that guy just getting up, it's just a movie to some people. But to me, it became what my reality had to become. I had to become that guy who could run on broken legs going through Hell Week, who can endure the most pain, the most suffering. To get where I have to go, I'm going to have to be that guy. And a lot of people will never understand that because a lot of people just don't have that kind of mindset. But we all have it. I came from nothing. But the thing about it is, we all have the ability to come from nothing to something. But it takes that kind of spirit. It takes that kind of spirit. The cookie jar. The cookie jar is something that I developed years ago. So what happens to me, happens to a lot of us in situations. We get put in these situations. In my whole life, I've been put in struggles. I've put myself in struggles. I've purposely put obstacles in front of me
23.
to see how I'm going to feel. Like, for instance, I run 205 miles at one time, nonstop. Do you know what goes through your mind when your goal is to run over 200 miles and you're at mile 100? You're at mile 100. You've run for over 24 hours and your body is broken. You're destroyed. You have nothing left, but you have 100 plus more miles to go. How do you find more?
24.
So I developed this thing called the cookie jar. And the cookie jar is a reminder. That's all it is. It's a reminder. Even the hardest person in the planet Earth, we forget how badass we are when times get hard. When times get hard, your mind spazzes out. It freaks out. It goes somewhere else. We forget. That cookie jar, you got to take 1 second. Take 1 second. And that cookie jar has all these things in it. All the things you overcame. All the things that you suffered through. All the things that got in your way and you fought through. So you go in your mental cookie jar when you're going through bad times and you want to quit and you want to bail out. You think about it. Okay, David, what did you do? You went through 2 hell weeks. You went through Ranger School. You went through this. You went through that. It's a reminder. It's a reminder that you are that badass. And that's all it is. The cookie jar is you take 1 second when you're in an extreme environment and your mind and your body are saying, we're done. We need to quit. You got to remind yourself, hang on a second. I've overcome a hell of a lot more than this. And I have the strength to persevere, to move on, to not be mediocre, to not settle for what's in front of me, to overcome the odds.
47.
The what if mentality is a mentality of a lot of us in this world have people who say we cannot do something. You can't do it. You're too short. You look a certain way. You act a certain way. You're not smart enough. I hit that roadblock every time. I was 300 pounds. I'll never forget, I was 300 pounds. I went from 175 to 300 pounds, and my goal was to be a Navy SEAL. Impossible goal. And every Navy recruiter that saw me said that, besides one. Every recruiter said, there's no way, man. You're 297 pounds, and you got to lose so much weight so fast. I talked to one recruiter, and I never getting back in my truck, and he said, you cannot do this. But I got in my truck, and I said to myself, but what if I could? What if I could pull off this miracle? How will I feel at the very...
Oh, man. Day 34 in the books. A little bit slower than yesterday. I played basketball for 2 hours directly before this, minus 40-minute car ride. So, I still put in the work. 6 more days to go to American Lung Association. Fight for air climb. Last Sunday of the 40 days of stairs. All right, talk to you soon.